Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Structure Therapeutics. This was a stock analysis request from one of the followers, and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests and I'll most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. And in the case of this chart, we have been tracking this idea of a larger 5-wave move to the upside that could form, that could still emerge. Yeah, we would need here a fourth and a fifth to have the entire pattern complete, and to be honest, we could even track this as an actual impulse. This is in fact what we have been tracking it as, and in such a case, a correction or a wave 3 to be complete and a correction to follow in a wave 4 is nothing too surprising. Now fortunately, overall we have broken this downtrend. We have pushed and formed a new all-time high, which allows us to focus actively alone on this uptrend, within which in the wave 3 or within this structure, let's say, we have a couple of scenarios. So in white, we are tracking just that, a larger 5-wave move to the upside, where this was actually the strongest and sharpest wave, but is being tracked as the actual wave 3. But of course, it's possible to track other interpretations as well, because within the yellow scenario, I could consider this to be instead a series of 1-2 setups, and the third wave would have only just formed here. Now, we were tracking also possible continuation higher within this movement alone, and that was in the green interpretation, but since we actually extended so much to the sideways, and yeah, we didn't necessarily break the area of support, but since we extended so much, I might need to consider that, this is not really going to play out. This is a case where we could consider an early top within this structure to the upside, and we might need to account for a built-in fourth and fifth, and maybe even a couple fourth and fifth built in. I believe I mentioned this to you even in the previous video. And we can track this as something like an A, B, C structure, in which case the wave B was a triangle. We can track a continuation higher within a fifth wave in the green interpretation, but it's not necessarily going to be the most likely scenario. We might end up forming the larger correction in the end. And I have to say, right now, based on the structure, on the size of this correction, I could even account for the interpretation in yellow, where we would have here instead a 1-2 setup, third, fourth, and the fifth. This could also work out. And really, the only thing allowing me still to track with some interest this interpretation in green is the fact that we can track here a triangle in the wave B. Because the proportions are already so large, the proportion differences are so large that normally I wouldn't consider this to be a fourth wave, but since we can track here an A, B, C structure with a triangle in the wave B, it is common to get large time extensions within the correction in a triangle. It is not necessarily going to allow me to track with the same likelihood the proportions that I normally could, and in such a case I need to consider a fifth wave in green could still work out, but keep in mind, failure to build it would pretty much force me to actually track the larger white interpretation, and right now we don't have enough waves to the upside to consider, or enough structure, or good enough structure, let's say, to consider a likely bottom in place, to have a confirmation in a larger initial 5-wave move to the upside within a larger pattern, because we have formed here a potential initial wave 1, we have here a wave 2, and now we might be building the wave 3. But right now, I could also consider this to be an ABC movement, part of an internal correction, part of the larger wave 4 in the white scenario. Now, keep in mind, if we are actually to build this white interpretation, we did already get into the area of support, but consider how large the correction in this wave 2 has been. I would expect something similar within this wave 4. Otherwise, I would probably consider internal extensions, either within the yellow interpretation or another. Now, the green scenario works as an extension within pretty much any scenario. But right now, I will attempt to track continuation higher, but keep in mind, there is a significant risk within this area. And if we want, we can even draw some relevant areas of resistance we could track, and I would be watching here the levels between the $70.7 all the way up to the $85.7. So far we did enter into quite a high level, but we didn't break yet the area of resistance. This could very easily still extend, and even if we are to continue higher, I could easily see this to be still part of the wave B, because I could be tracking here an ABC structure, in which case, within the wave C, I would actually expect one more high. Yeah, I would expect to have a full 5-wave move to the upside, but in that case, yeah, I might instead be tracking an ending diagonal, because if this is working out as an impulse, which it might be because the structure does allow for it, it would very likely break through the area of resistance, because I could track here even an internal 1-2 setup, or at the very least a double 1-2 1-2, and then this would be a third. If we get a fourth, fifth, sure, that would be enough to get to the last level of resistance, but then we would expect another fourth, fifth within an actual impulse. That would likely break it. That would likely allow us to extend in a more direct fashion higher. So right now, again, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th that I'm tracking within the green interpretation, and within this wave 3 we can even assign an internal count here, a 1, 2, 3, 4th and a 5th. In this interpretation, we can track an internal area of support for such a pattern. And by the way, even this third wave itself might still extend. Yeah, we have here a tiny 1-2 setup that could be considered. Now, not necessarily something I would focus on too much, but I would focus instead on the levels of support here between the $79.6 all the way down to the $75.7. So far, we have retraced into the ideal target for the wave 4, which is the 38.2% retracement, and yeah, we already have a tiny reaction, but yeah, we wouldn't necessarily need this correction to already be complete. It could be, but we don't need it to, and in such a case, yeah, we need to allow it to take place. We need to allow the full pattern to form, and then we can start considering more options. But for now, the most important level remains here, the last level of support, the 50% retracement, the $75.7. If we break it, I could still see another high to form, but the structure would be highly unreliable, because this could not be built within a larger wave 3. If we cannot build a wave 3 to the upside within this area, well, I cannot really track continuation higher with high probabilities. Sure, even this could have been maybe counted as an ABC structure. It might even work out better, but it would not be, or it would not form a reliable structure. And yeah, I would like to see a 5-wave move to the upside within this area. I need to see an impulse within this area, in fact, in which case we must absolutely hold the 50% retracement for this to be a reliable uptrend in continuation. And for those of you who maybe already got into a position, yeah, it might be interesting to consider maybe taking off some of the risk once we break the 50% retracement, or maybe already take off some of the risk. Keep in mind, especially if you entered long ago within the initial area of support. Yeah, this might have been even before we actually covered this stock, but we had also an internal area of support within this area, I'm sure. And now we are already at a very high level. We might extend higher, but a large portion of this uptrend could already be done. Yeah, it might be done, most of it. It might be a third wave complete within this white interpretation, and the correction within the wave 4 could take us all the way down to the $38.8 level before actually seeing continuation to even higher prices. And yeah, right now we can build a reliable structure to the upside still, but again, the 50% retracement matters. If we break it, we can track here something like, you know, let's say a 1, 2, 3, 4th and a 5th within a larger ending diagonal, or maybe a 1, 2, and then a third wave in an ABC movement. But yeah, this would not be a reliable pattern. This is not something I would necessarily recommend to actively track for profits, and already we have a strong signal at the 50% retracement. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.